There's been an update that I cannot wait to go over with you guys. Let me start up at the beginning. Now, I did a video none too long ago. Title of this video, Broke Woman Begs for Cash from Ex-Boyfriend but Gets Reality Check. Whoop, they're like my own video. Gotta like your own stuff. If you don't, no one will. Anyway, premise of this video was this nasty young woman asking for money from a man on the first date to get her nails done, and it kind of set up the premise of this broke woman begging for cash. Nevertheless, it's a compilation, and it was a certain portion of it where a lovely young lady came on and began to talk about how to never or why to never accept coffee dates as a first date. Let's go through it real quick. What the feminists are saying about the coffee dates.
Do not go on that coffee date. Do not go on that boba date. Do not go meet that man for drinks. This man saw you, and his first initial thought wasn't, wow, I'd really love to get to know her over some dinner and a nice ambiance. He looked at you and said, Dunkin'? Starbucks? The amount of messages that I get from men that ask me if I like coffee. No, bitch, I don't like coffee. I actually hate it.
Now, I don't know if the amount of silicone or Botox that has been injected into her body has gone straight up to her brainstem and clouded her judgment, because after posting this video and it went viral on her TikTok, she uploaded some humbling thoughts right after.
So I recently gave up on dating completely because I feel like there's literally nothing for me out there. And I guess
if women say that men are incels for giving up on dating, then by definition, she would be a femcel. Interesting how that works.
this match group got wind of this because they actually invited me to participate in their connection experience. So I'm going to have a series where you guys will follow me throughout the months. I'm going to try to do in real life dating. I'm also going to do connections on the app. I put the series in the highlights so you guys can follow along. I really want to get through my story because there's a guy that I saw at this coffee shop. So I have been going to coffee shops trying to make a connection, and it's so funny because this is me. Do y'all remember this viral video where I said, do not go on coffee dates? And here I am going to coffee shops trying to find dates. We love a full circle moment. But anyways, there's this guy, gorgeous, light brown tousled hair, chiseled jawline, polished, looks like he smells delicious, didn't see a ring on his finger. So of course I asked the barista, come here often? Because I've never seen him. And she's like, no, we haven't seen him before. Like, I have to talk to him. I'm not the type of girl to go up to guys. So I'm like, what do I even say to this guy? So it's do or die. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to shoot my shot.
So the humbling gods have spoken. Oh, look at that. Humbling yourself, re-strategizing the way that you date or your expectations of men or where that you meet men does in fact work. Now, see, the culture that we are all in, specific to women, sells you a fantasy which enables significant delusional, irrational expectations out of men that no person can consistently over a long period of time amount up to. Also take note that she mentioned that she got contacted from Match Group, which is the parent company to a lot of these dating apps that we know of today, such as Tinder. That's gonna be important a little bit later. Nevertheless, she uploaded a part 2 to this.
Quick update on yesterday's coffee shop experience. I suggest that you guys watch part 1 of this series where I will be trying my hand at dating in real life, and then I'm gonna try my hand at the Tinder app and see how that goes. So update on yesterday's experience. I did go back into the coffee shop and strike up a conversation with him.
All right.
Very well. I tapped him on the shoulder and I was like, hi. I introduced myself. My name is Veronica. We had a brief conversation. He's very well spoken, very charming. You know the guys that are charming without really having to try? That was him. Witty, funny, just all the vibes were there. But unfortunately for me, he is not available. He told me that he's in a relationship. They've been together for about 1.5 years now. They're doing the long distance thing. I didn't get his number because, first of all, he's in a relationship at the end of the day. So in conclusion, I don't think in real life is for me. I'm putting myself in such a vulnerable state. It takes a lot of courage for someone to go up to somebody, especially as a girl, and then being let down on top of it, even though he was really sweet about it. It's just uncomfortable, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna head over to the Tinder app and see how that goes for me. Hopefully I have better luck, so we'll see.
What I find so interesting about this is that a woman that has all of these requirements, right? Now, albeit she has humbled herself to a degree to at least walk into a coffee shop and attempt to date. But a woman that has all of these different expectations from men, and we're going to get into some of her expectations coming up here in a quick second, including thinking that is a reprehensible offense to take you out on a coffee date. Also comments that after getting rejected, and rejected due to him having a relationship is really not rejection at the end of the day. It's just, wrong time and place because she was embarrassed or whatever is some of the funniest shit because it's something that men have to face every day when we try to talk to women. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that women should be approaching men, right? Like I think it's a more masculine behavior, but I just think that it's interesting that when the shoe is on the other foot, you now have at least increased amount of empathy for men and us having to get rejected. But anyway, just when I thought that she had learned from the situation, I come to find out that she has learned no lesson in humility to the degree of what I thought.
Waiting on my Uber, and I was like, this is a perfect time to do a little first date icks, because I have a lot.
She's waiting on an Uber to go on a first date. Let's listen.
You're lucky enough to even land a date with me, and you show up empty-handed. Not a flower, not a chocolate, not a nothing. You're never going to see me again. Before we even get to dinner table, we've had a conversation. You know my love language is gifts.
Oh, God.
So you showing up empty-handed, just you? Nothing to wow me, nothing to make an impression. You're never gonna see me again. Ordering a girly drink. There should be no reason that we're both ordering an espresso martini.
You gotta think, where did we get as a society when women think that it's cool to upload content of them talking about their icks out of men? First, you chastise the coffee dates. Then you met a guy at a coffee shop. Humility got you results. Now, dudes that are lucky enough to date you need to bring you something on the first date. Forever single behavior. It kind of reminded me of a recent Cardi B tweet. So this Twitter account, My Mixtape, said, Cardi B claims men prefer less attractive women because they are submissive than perfect tens. Now, this actually got community noted on X, right, to say that this is factually incorrect. And then Cardi B cleared it up. But listen to this. This was about how men are intimidated of women that make their own money because they're not as easy to control, and how a man told me he'd rather date a 6 and not 10s. The community note actually followed up and said that it was due to his own insecurity. And this is absolutely incorrect. In fact,
a glass of wine.
Many men are unwilling to seriously date women that are above a 6 or a 7. And I would say that this lovely young woman is objectively above a 6, is because then they have to deal with these monster attitudes. This has nothing to do with a man's insecurity and has everything to do with a man wanting peace. There seems to be a current trend of this boss bee, independent, want a man sometimes, but don't need no damn man attitude that permeates on social media. And these women will upload these cringe ick videos as if it's powerful to say what you don't want in a man. But this just goes to show you what men are experiencing out there in the dating game here today. Privileged women, entitled women with overinflated egos and social media brain. Let's finish up.
Wine even. Oh no, you want a lemon drop. Okay. If you get your drink and you ask for a straw, now I have to watch you drink this girly drink. You're pursing your lips every time. And if you lose track of your straw and you're fiddling for it, I'm gonna excuse myself, go to the restroom, and never come back. If you're a picky eater, I don't have time for a motherfucker that only eats chicken tenders. We're at a steakhouse, babe. Like, grow up. Last but not least, if we're in a crowded area and you're leading the way and you don't like reach back to grab my hand, someone could snatch me up. And how would you know? You wouldn't, because you never reached back to grab my hand. I would love to hear some of y'all's icks.
Now, if you go down into the comment section of this video, I think it's particularly interesting. So you'll see here, not being able to get the bartender's attention. That is an ick. Laugh, laugh. My first date icks, Botox and lip filler. Oh, he's actually getting at her. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. If it's a dangling earring, it's a no. Okay, understandable. I'm not that hungry or I ate before. Hate this. So inconsiderate. that he won't pay for my meal. I love how strict women are becoming. Never let up. Now listen, I understand that women also need women's spaces to talk about things that are important for them. You know, I have no issue with it as long as I don't get too echo chambery. My only argument is that you guys over there do the same thing that men do over here. So all the male podcast hate that y'all often talk about is ridiculous. So anyway, she goes on a date of a dude that she met from Tinder and explains it.
So I just got back from another Tinder date. In case you guys aren't familiar, I was invited by Match Group to participate in their connection experience. So to recap where we left off on my last lunch/Tinder date, we eventually did go on a formal date. We went to dinner, but we decided that it wasn't going to work out for us simply because he is required to travel a lot for work. He's constantly on the go, and that's just not going to work for me. I love to be around my man. I want my man to be around me. So there's that. But tonight I did go on a new date. This guy is super sweet, very smart, graduated from Columbia, good head on his shoulders, very family oriented. And he's not very active on social media, which I adore. I love a man that works out, and just minds his business.
Of course she wants him not to be active on social media. Why would she want him to have an opinion of her having her titties out on TikTok? Expects a man, a traditional man, to give her gifts, adorn her with roses and flower petals upon the first date. Meanwhile, wears modern harlot attire on your social media app of choice. It's funny how that happens.
So let's see where this goes. I'm obviously still getting to know him. It's definitely been a journey compared to where we first started on my in real life approach. When I was shooting my shot, and unfortunately it was shot down. Introduce myself and strike up a conversation. Let's see how this goes.
Unfortunately for me, he is not available.
I just feel like I'm not a shoot my shot type of girl. As much as I would love to meet my man in the wild, organically, bump into them at the grocery store, at the coffee shop. The downside to that is that you're kind of shooting darts in the air. You don't know who this person is. You don't know what you're dealing with. They could be a complete psycho. They could be married. With me at the coffee shop, him being in a relationship, it was like, this is so embarrassing. And just being rejected in real life is discouraging. But anyway, for those who have been following me on this journey, if you guys have any questions, I would love to hear your input.
Whether or not you find someone online or you find someone in a grocery store, you're still shooting darts in the air. You don't know them until you go out and you begin to date them. But that's enough of her thoughts. But what I found so interesting is within this idea of being tired of meeting people out in real life is the very real thing that dudes have to go through, which is to have enough courage, even outside of what they might look like, their height, or like the typical standards that they know that women like, but have enough courage to approach women. I wish that there was an experiment that can be done where men and women can just switch genders, because I think the majority of women experiencing what men experience and having to grow through that is something that they simply couldn't handle.
This woman, she already had some kind of masculine features, like deeper voice, deeper whatever. She decided to be a man because she wanted to see how men were treated, not sex change, an experiment. She ended up herself after like a year and a half of this because she said she was treated so horribly by women that she couldn't even believe that this is how men lived.
Men are suffering. They have different problems than women have, but they don't have it better.
And I was like, no fucking way. But I can see it. I can see that you guys don't speak up. You don't say the things that we need to hear because you want to love us. You want to support us. You want to be there for us, but you guys are supposed to be the strong one. Yeah. You're supposed to be these things. And yet we've been fighting to be your equal, fighting to be the alpha. And out of kindness, you guys are stepping back, but it's a losing war for both of us.
Another one.
We all have privilege. All of us that are sitting here, all of you that are watching that have internet, that have food, you guys all have privilege. Privileges can come in so many forms.
I think you guys are both right where there's no such thing as being able to look at someone, their immutable characteristics, and say, I know you have more or less privilege than me. It really depends on the situation. In some circumstances, it might be more beneficial to be a female or a male. But I would say if we're talking just in terms of the legal system purely, I would say that females tend to have more privileges because of things like you just mentioned, diversity hiring when it comes to being a pilot. I can't think of, any law that currently exists where it's like, oh, you're a man, you're more likely to get in. We're going to put your resume to the top just because of that, where I can think of many circumstances when that does apply to being a female.
Another one. Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to like have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Another one.
It's okay to be a man.
It's not okay. It's necessary. What the hell are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up. These men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers. They're up on the power lines in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning, this thing that works in a miraculous manner. They work themselves to death. And often, literally, the gratitude for that is sorely lacking, especially among the people who should be most grateful. You see university professors, especially of the social justice bent, they take everything they have for granted, failing to understand entirely that there's a massive infrastructure of unbelievably hardworking, solidly laboring, working class men breaking themselves in half on a regular basis, making sure that everything that always breaks works.
It's crazy how a little bit of humility can go a long way. In this case, in the beginning of this video, we saw someone get additional results out their life, or we're changing a perspective on something that was irrational. But this has been your reminder, especially to all the women that watch this channel. I think that a large issue that a lot of these women face with today is that the culture has bred them to not be humble whatsoever and to have ridiculous standards for their counterparts, the modern man of today. I think a lot of these young modern women today, they lack empathy. They're so into themselves and also into their social media, scrolling all day, trying to form-fit their life within the highlights that they see, that they forget that men are imperfect. A humble woman, more often than not, has the capacity to understand who men are, what they go through, and because of that, they have a higher inclination to respect you for who you are. Be on the lookout for those type my G's, and all else need not apply. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Me, go to tourismreviews@gmail.com. What do you guys think about the collection of clips here today? Let me know your comments down in the comment box down below, and I will see you soon. Until next time, YouTube. Peace.